stream.
They got married. And they were
Yeah, it's counting. Crisis averted.
we will be
AI work. It's like a transformer. It repairs itself when it.
do the 20th.
Yeah, that's just, yeah.
AI is absolute sanity.
How many of them you got?
Good.
Actually, they didn't have rates.
Get rolling.
Not the big ones, but just,
Pretty good. Bill.
and I, $50 bid.
Get them.
But it's like you said, it's
Yeah.
basic.
It's really depressing. Just need that one person.
The other stuff.
Well, I got myself, my wife. Well, maybe.
Not for work, but less to go wrong.
What? That's not my name.
I don't know if it's good. I'm saying, what is it?
Because then it almost makes you feel like you gotta stay back.
Okay.
120.
Yeah. Boom.
I'm set. Got me.
That's why it's.
Okay, sorry for the delay. We had a little IT problems here. It's 6:02. I would like to call the regular meeting of March 10th, of the County Board of Supervisors to order. Please stand and join me in a pledge of allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The roll call shows we have 19 supervisors present, which is a quorum. Item 4 is approval of the agenda. I entertain a motion to approve. Have a second over here. Lots of seconds. A motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any questions, comments at all? Okay, we will call the vote then to approve the agenda. Okay, the agenda is unanimously approved. Item 5, members of the public wish to be heard. I believe we don't have any signed up. Good. Item 6 would be the consent agenda. Look for a motion to approve.
Supervisor Goodman?
Okay, and we have a second?
Kelly.
Kelly, okay. So a motion is second on the consent agenda. Any questions on any of those items on the consent agenda? Okay, yeah, just a reminder on there of our meeting in April that it's a week later than normal by state statute. Okay, if there are no more questions, we'll call the vote to approve the consent agenda then. Okay, the consent agenda is unanimously approved. Item 7 are reports. Move down to department reports, monthly statements of claims filed.
As you will see in your packet, there were 2 new claims filed since our last meeting. If you have any questions, you can reach out to the Corporation Counsel.
Okay. Item 3 are general reports. recognition of county board supervisors, 24 to 26.
On your tables, there is a certificate of appreciation because this is the last meeting that you will all be together. Some of you have chosen obviously not to run again, others have competition, so we will see whose face we see in April. But thank you for the last 2 years, and I don't know, Chuck, if there was some things you wanted to say, or?
Yeah, I'd also would just like to thank you all for the 2 years of service. I also thank you for the privilege I had that you gave to me to lead the board. Just a couple of things I'd just like to reflect on some of the major things that we did. If you remember when we started off, the major thing going, the hospital here had just closed a month before we started our term, and that was one of the overriding things we've had, and we followed that through for a while, and we now have some some understanding going and help with that. Another thing we tackled, everybody helped with, was the courthouse security was an issue that had been going for a long time. We have a good accomplishment there. We had a couple major changes. Official newspaper and stuff was something that was on us down. We all got involved in all our various committees on that and kind of took care of getting that cleaned up a little bit. Major thing was the funding that we helped get for the Hope Village and the renewal of the Indian Head Hotel. Finally, I think there's been hanging over us for a while. The firearms range was just a whole long thing. We finally got that sold. That was done. ARPA funds, if you remember ARPA, the term, we kind of wrapped all that up, spent all those funds, did a lot of good things with that. 2025, big thing hit us was we replaced administrator. If you remember, that process was good. I really applaud the board for how we went through that. Everybody was involved, had lots of interaction with people, and I think we, as we all, I think, believe we've made a very good choice. Very happy with how that's going. That was a major thing to do. Things that were hanging over that we finally took care of, a lot of ATV routes and things, that's been going on for a number of years. We kind of cleaned some of that up and got things going. We all welcomed 2 new supervisors in this last year. We were able to add some staff to Health and Human Services, which was a pretty major thing. I think one of the legacy things we were able to do was finally, we got really going on the business park. It's been a number of years. Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? And if you remember, when we finally got the information together and going with the land up there, it's still not quite there, but we're heading that way, and that will be something that will be a legacy for this board of getting that done. Address some EMS things. We haven't fixed it all yet, but we've put together committees and doing that. EMS is kind of in a crisis mode, partly because the hospital being closed, but just a lot. The rural EMS is a very important thing. We're working on attacking that. And just a variety of other things. We had just in the county, we had some major department heads that were replaced. And we've been through that. Some long-standing people who have retired, we've replaced them. We have the people in. You've worked well with them in your committees and worked on getting everything going. So I would just like to laud everybody for the hard work they did, especially considering I believe we had 11 new supervisors last year. So coming on and just taking on a new task that you've never seen before, I laud you for working on your committees. And just the whole nature of this board has been great on asking questions. I think I've never seen as many questions asked of as many people. It just means you're concerned and you're learning when people come here. So I just laud you for your service and look forward to working with you next year. I think I believe we have 4 contested things. At the very most, we'll have 6 new. Hopefully, we only have 2 new, because there's two contests out there that are just new board members. So thank you again for your service. Item 8, the business items. Resolution 6-26, resolution to disallow the claim of Eric Schubel and Schubel's Frog Hop. Deb?
Oh, wait.
Oh, sorry.
Resolution 6-26, resolution to disallow claim of Eric Schubel and Schubel's Frog Hop. Now therefore be it resolved that the Chippewa County Board of Supervisors does hereby disallow the claim of Eric Schubel and Schubel's Frog Hop, and no action on this claim may be brought against Chippewa County or any of its officers, officials, agents, or employees after 6 months from the date of service of this notice pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 893.80, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the claimant by certified mail, return receipt requested as a notice of disallowance, forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Later, so moves.
Hennick, second. So we have a motion and a second.
Goodman will second.
Well, Supervisor Hennick at second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, that's okay. Yeah, any questions for Deb on this? Or do you want to clarify? Everybody understand this or have any questions before we take a vote?
I just have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is up there. Was there a video that it was ever presented? Because the person says that they presented a video of the water and stuff, and I'm wondering how come we don't have an attachment of the video or anything to see this? And also, it seems kind of weird that they would be having flooding problems. You know, could we possibly have the grade wrong on that? Because with a 6-inch gutter coming across there, I see we always go back on the rain and stuff, but I don't think we can be blaming the rain all the time for this problem here. So I guess I want you guys to address that because I'm kind of uncomfortable with this.
That is something we won't address tonight because that is getting into the meat of the issue. This is strictly a disallowance on a procedural matter because it's an untimely filing. So that is what we're basing our disallowance and the request from WMIC.
Sounds good.
So what do you mean by untimely filing?
When they file a notice of claim against the county, they have to do it within a 6-month time period from the date of the incident.
It's actually 120 days.
120?
120.
I thought, oh yeah, that's right.
They missed by about a month. At the,
No,
at the area.
it's more than a month. You have incidents in 2024 and you have incidents in 2025 that
Yeah.
they mentioned.
I'm basing it off of 2025. And since at the earliest, they were a month off or short or overdue, I guess. But they're also making claims in 2004, so that would be more than a year.
How about from when we fixed it, it was more than 120 days? Or?
No, it's from when they,
From the date that the occurrence, whenever it occurred.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, if not, then I will call the vote to disallow the claim. Okay, the vote is 17-2 to disallow. The claim is disallowed. Resolution passed. Item 2, Resolution 7-26, resolution to establish annual compensation for sheriff, clerk of courts, and the coroner positions for 2027 through 2030.
Resolution 7-26, resolution to establish the annual compensation for the sheriff, clerk of courts, and the coroner positions for 2027 through 2030. This is read by title only.
Entertain a motion to approve.
Kelly makes a motion.
Lots will second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Discussion? Any questions for Andy? Okay, if not, then we will We will call the vote to approve the resolution. Thank you. Okay, the vote's unanimous to approve the resolution to establish the annual compensation. Item 3, Resolution 8-26, resolution to adopt the Chippewa County Safety Action Plan.
Resolution 8-26, resolution to adopt the Chippewa County Safety Action Plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the Chippewa County Board of Supervisors adopts the Chippewa County Safety Action Plan and commits to a vision of zero traffic deaths and serious injuries on county highways with a specific goal to reduce traffic deaths and serious injuries by 55% by 2040. Forwarded to the County Board by the Highway Committee.
Entertain a motion to approve.
Later so moves. Peter Sills.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Supervisor Guthman? I see the button being pushed.
It's not working. First of all, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to say that I appreciate the safety action plan, and that we can do preventively is really hugely important, at least from my perspective. I did have a chance just to talk to Chris briefly about not necessarily concern that would be necessarily put into this particular plan, but I did note that there is an objective to reduce crashes by 55% by the year of 2040, I believe. And one of the things that didn't really come through in the data is that in the area where I represent, and specifically right along where I live, along Highway 27 there is a little bit of a faint heat map of crashes that are occurring just about from Senex, located in Holcomb along Highway 27. I know this isn't a county issue, so it would be needing to communicate with the state on Highway 27, and then going up towards County Highway M, going off to the east. There is a little bit of a heat map there, and as I was sharing with Chris, the number of times, especially in the summer, late spring and early fall, because the highway is just getting really busy with tourism up there with a lot of traffic. The number of times that people are passing, just me, for example, as I'm yielding to turn left into my own driveway, is increasingly concerning. And in fact, I don't even know how it is that people are not going off into the ditch. So the number of near misses when people are trying to pass people who are yielding to the left for oncoming traffic is, as people are traveling north, especially on a Friday afternoon, early Saturday morning, and then again Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. That's not necessarily picked up in the data, and I recognize that, but there is indication through the heat map that there have been some fatalities in that area and some accidents that have occurred. So whatever conversations that might be able to be had with the state might be something for us to consider, because it certainly affects us at a county level as well. So that's just my only comment.
Okay.
We go ahead with our presentation?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. I'm Fred Anderson. I'm project manager for the Highway Department. And with me today is Nicole Bitson. She is the lead on for our consultant, SRF Consulting. We've been working for the last couple of years on our safety action plan. We received a federal grant. And so we've completed the plan, and we're here to present it to you. I'll hand it over to Nicole, and then I guess we can take questions after that.
Sounds great. So again, Nicole Bitson with SRF Consulting. Excited here to just talk through at a high level the safety action plan and some of those components that are in the plan itself. So jumping right in, as Fred mentioned, this was part of a grant from back in 2022. It was a part of the bipartisan infrastructure law. It established new SS4A discretionary funding. There was $5 billion that was distributed over the course of 5 years. The last and final year is this year, so 2026. We're anticipating that notice of funding potentially any day now, or at the end of the month or early next month, as the last opportunity for at least this funding piece. In addition to that federal SS4A funding, there's many different type of opportunities to address those safety needs, that whether it's to enhance your existing safety action plan that we did, or if there's any specific demonstration, those temporary infrastructure projects that you'd like to test out that were from this safety action plan, or implementation specific projects. So that's construction, if there's a project that you'd like to pursue. And so for just in general, what is a safety or Safe Streets for All safety action plan? And really the focus of these safety action plans were to identify a clear goal or vision from your agency to eliminate those fatal and serious injury crashes, identifying ways as well to share that responsibility within your agency, and highlighting that in a report itself. They also go through each of these core elements, so really highlighting that safe system approach. This is a FHWA framework that focuses, instead of being more reactive as where crashes are occurring, it's looking at potential of where those crashes may occur in the future to address those fatal and serious injury crashes, and also acknowledging that humans are vulnerable, we make mistakes, and so how can we identify those locations and make sure that our roads are built to identify or understand those vulnerabilities, whether there's post-crash care or safe speeds, those other items to anticipate those vulnerabilities. So as a part of the safety action plan, we highlighted that SS4A, or that safe systems approach that I just talked about. It's also determining that commitment to eliminate roadway fatalities, so that Vision Zero and that 50% or 55% reduction interim goal, identifying those safety issues, looking at your existing crash history, engaging the community. So that's where, if we're not seeing that history of crashes, where are those locations where there are near misses to help supplement that data, evaluating and prioritizing safety improvements, looking at your existing policies, and then identifying also this potential funding sources. These are the 9 different components that are required as a part of the SS4A program, and so it highlights where we're at today and what is included in your plan. And one of the things too, again, that we're gonna hope to get is that leadership commitment is for the board to adopt the vision and the plan here today. An overview of the plan and the report. There are 7 chapters. The appendices go into more detail of all of the analysis that was completed, but the 7 chapters have all of the high-level analysis results to go through. And so today I'll just go, again, very high level as what each of those chapters include. So with the Why a Safety Action Plan, this is chapter 1 and looks more at a national safety lens and what's going on here nationally. It talks about, at a high level, what was that SS4A program, the safe systems approach, and then also nationally there's that focus on vulnerable roadway users as well. So understanding that those who are bicyclists, pedestrians, those who are rolling are those that are most risk. We looked specifically to here in Chippewa County of what that means, or that percentage for crashes, and identified that 76% of crashes that involve a bicyclist or a pedestrian result in a severe crash, compared to that 13% in a vehicle. Also, another focus here nationally is speeding and unbelted related crashes. And for those here in Chippewa, 15% of severe crashes in Chippewa involve unbelted, and 26% involve speeding or aggressive driving. So just things that we've highlighted, that's not only a national focus, but here in Chippewa as well. Then in chapter 2, we go into a little bit more detail about Chippewa County and what's going on here. within that 5-year timeframe, so 2019 to 2023, there were 178 severe crashes that occurred in the county. It highlights too, we looked at specifically where those crashes were distributed. We have identified that higher population growth of that 65 and up range as well. And that is an area to focus on, as we've identified that a lot of crashes had a contributing factor for 65 and up. In this chapter as well, it looks at that vision or the Vision Zero goal of reducing these crashes by 55% by 2040. And then also highlights the Traffic Safety Commission's role to guide the plan. So again, they were instrumental to developing the plan of continued check-ins, and then also in the future, we'll be there for progress tracking to make sure that you're on track to meet that 55% by 2040 as well. This chapter in Chapter 3 looks at current state of practice. So this looked at over 19 various plans, federal, state, and local, just to identify those best practices to incorporate as a part of your safety action plan. So this highlights those items. Chapter 4 is going into more of that community and stakeholder engagement. So there were 2 events that occurred over the course of the last 2 years where we are at the site and collecting public input. There are also an opportunity to provide input through an online map. We received over about 300 comments about specific locations and concerns around Chippewa. And typically we were focused around pedestrian and bicycle safety concerns, where there are gaps, where is there pavement, like potholes or challenges on that side. And then also mentioned as well that speeding was a concern as well. This looks at the map on the right-hand side was that interactive online map and those results. So people were able to provide specific locations of concern as well, and then categorize them by mode. So whether it was biking specific or general safety or walking or rolling. We heard typically the concerns were around congestion. There were specific intersections as well that were that came forward and were helpful to supplement that crash history. And so again, all of these items were just to help develop those safety project and those recommendations. Chapter 5 gets into the bulk of the data and the analysis. There were 3 specific components of the analysis itself. There was that historical crash evaluation, which looked at that 5-year crash, so what has occurred in the past and where are they occurring, as well as a demographics analysis and a future proactive systemic analysis as well. Let's see. I'm gonna keep going here. For that historical crash evaluation, so this again looked at within that 5-year time frame, where are those 6,000 crashes occurring? So within 2019 to 2023, there was just over 175 severe crashes, just over 6,000 total crashes. And then we categorized that by mode specifically to see where are those, or who are those at most risk. And again, as mentioned, those motorcycle, pedestrian, bicycle, those vulnerable roadway users, although they have a fewer amount of all crashes, they have a more or higher risk of those severe injuries when a crash does occur with them. In addition to just a general, that historical crash evaluation, we also put together a high injury network, and this looks at concentrations of crashes, or that density. So a little bit more detail than a heat map, but looking at a rolling average of those crashes to get where specifically across the roadways in Chippewa County are experiencing the most crashes. In addition to that, we looked at overall contributing factors. So what specifically are those items that are impacting crashes? And we mentioned speeding, unbelted, older drivers. Those are the ones that really came up to the forefront. And then the third piece of the historical crash evaluation was to look at categories of roadway types and the context to see what crashes are occurring. For example, on the county rural system, most of them are lane departure crashes, so vehicles leaving the road, going onto the shoulder, and then hitting a fixed object is the one of those higher items that we're seeing within the county rural system. And so we did that for each of those different contexts. Then the third piece was the systemic analysis, and this is where we looked at county roads specifically and collected data for segments, intersections, and curves. We evaluated where those crashes were occurring historically to determine those risks, to then identify where can they occur in the future. This piece here looked, in addition, Fred and the county had mentioned as well, that sight line was also a concern. So as you're coming up a hill, if you can't see a vehicle at the intersection, that is also a risk. You have a hilly county. So we wanted to identify those locations as well as a part of this analysis. So that is something that was incorporated here. This piece here, in addition to the data that was identified for all segments, intersections, and curves within county roads, were prioritized by location, so those, again, that were at most risk. And then projects were also identified for each of those locations. Chapter 6 goes over a high level of various safety strategies to use as a toolkit. It includes proven safety countermeasures that were identified from USDOT and various other best practices. This includes average costs of each of those countermeasures, as well as their estimated effectiveness for reducing fatal and serious injury crashes to use and incorporate. In addition to these infrastructure project recommendations, there's also non-infrastructure, so those that are education-wise, if there's different policies or community engagement that can be used to support those infrastructure improvements. Then we get to chapter 7, goes through all of those project lists and recommendations. So these are just snapshots of what we see for segments, curves, and intersections. The lists in the plan itself have quite a bit more detail, but just as a high level, the costs vary by location depending on the projects that are recommended at each of those locations. So some of them are shoulder rumbles, enhanced edge lines, different buffer between opposing lanes as well, and then they're calculated by miles for the projects. And these are just, again, a snapshot of just the top 10 locations on those lists. There's over 100 segments, though, that are prioritized with specific projects recommended. The next are curves. They're a little bit more challenging to see without a map, but again, just shows at a high level those different project recommendations and how those costs vary depending on whether it's a light specific recommendation for those lower costs, if it's signage or various other projects. We also worked with Fred to identify which of these projects have already been completed as well, so that's where that recommendation completed text is. Last is intersections. There's just over 300 intersections that were identified for projects specifically. You're seeing, though, this cost, again, a little different than the past, where $25,000, this was specific for, for lighting, I believe, and then for the zero project criteria not met. That specifically doesn't mean that a project isn't recommended due to the limitations of our data. We went through and used a lot of Google Earth and didn't have the condition of all of the signage. So that states that a more thorough evaluation on the ground needs to occur at those specific locations. That signage may be an issue, so potential considerations to go evaluate those. And then there might be updates to signs, pavement markings, or reflectivity at those locations. So for now, there's just a zero cost until that evaluation can occur. And then last, I'm going to hand it over to
I'm going to speak on this one a bit. We wanted to identify this project location kind of separately. This is the Chippewa Valley Festival Grounds on County Highway S. It's Rock Fest, Country Fest, the other, what do we got? Force Fields and One Fest. As you may know, a lot of you may know, there's, at the top of the hill at the entrance, there's a lot of cars turning, a lot of cars going through, pedestrians everywhere. It's kind of a high risk area for pedestrians, really everyone. And so it's one of the, projects that the highway department's been discussing and probably for at least a couple of years with Fest leadership about, a potential pedestrian underpass. So, this is a good project for the county to champion. Identifying it in this program, in this safety action plan, helps with, our overall chances of this getting funded. And, this is something that, since it's county right-of-way, it's a county road, there has to be a public-private partnership. So this is one we identified and hopefully something that, can produce some funding. So.
And so just to wrap up the final chapter here, Chapter 7 goes through and talks about, okay, you have your lists of all of those project recommendations, that forefront of what we've heard from the community engagement and the County Trunk Highway S as well to bring forward, and what to do next with it and how to meet your goals. And so it has each of the action items, a timeline, and the total cost of all of those project recommendations. So that comes to about 22 million over for 500 projects, understanding it's not going to be a one overnight and we're going to address every single location, but highlighting that you do have a list to start to identify with potential capital improvement projects or as funding opportunities come forward and chip away at your project locations. And then last, just a reiteration of that there's 6 different appendices that go into great detail of all of the different analysis that was completed. If you'd like to go in, as well as all of the data that was collected, those prioritized lists of all of the locations and all of the project recommendations as well. With that.
Yeah, and I guess the final steps, for the past 2 years, we've been presenting regular updates to the Traffic Safety Commission. They were given the final copy, chance to review for comment. And then on February 12th, we got a vote from them to support the plan, forwarded on to our Highway Committee, which in turn pledged a vote of support to move it towards County Board. And so that's kind of where we are tonight. With this funding, there's a leadership commitment that needs to be made, and that's County Board here. To basically, committing to zero, a vision of 0 traffic deaths and serious injuries, and then a goal to reduce those serious injuries and traffic deaths by 55% by the year 2040. So, and then the very last step is once that is approved, I do a final report and submit it to Federal Highways, and that completes the project. The plan. Yeah, many more projects after that. Yeah. That's it for us.
Apologize for jumping the gun and asking questions before the presentation. So now are there any other questions after the presentation? Supervisor Schubert.
Some of these goals are really big, but getting down to 0 pretty much is impossible as long as you have cars on the road. And it tends to lead to overregulation and overspending. Do you have metrics to say, okay, the ROI in making this safer is actually worth spending the money in doing this? Are there any kind of metrics like that in this plan, or is it just whatever money we have, we're gonna spend on whatever situation we have?
Well, part of this is, I mean, this is a list of projects. You know, we do road projects, improvement projects, roadside maintenance every year, all the time. A lot of the stuff that's in here, we do anyways. You know, we clear the right of way, we try and remove obstructions from along the road, new paving. If we're going through an intersection, it's a dangerous intersection or something, we have realigned it for safety. You know, so this is a tool for us too to, you know, when we're going through our normal projects, to take a look at this and say, okay, what can we, you know, check off the list and make it safer? But it's also a tool to get additional funding. So we will be updating Traffic Safety Committee, you know, on how things are progressing.
Thank you.
Supervisor Gary.
So I have a question and then a comment. I'm guessing none of this grant money has been awarded yet?
No, the next one for implementation, or is it for all three?
So all three opportunities, again, will come up here for the final year, within the next month or two, and then that, it's $1 billion plus any that was not awarded in previous years. So there's another opportunity coming up, whether it's additional supplemental work to enhance your safety action plan, if you'd like more analysis, a demonstration project, or a specific implementation project, so construction.
So then my comment is, I'm on the Highway Committee, the Executive Committee, so I've listened to this presentation several times, and it just keeps getting better, in my opinion, and I see it only as a win-win. So I think this is a huge plus for the county.
Supervisor Romeyer.
So Fred, this is my second time listening to the presentation. And I had time to think about it. So when you have these designated areas, how do you identify them? By crashes in the past history, or how does that work?
Those project-specific locations of how they work? Is that, so we looked at historical crash, so where they recurred, and then there's specific risk factors. So for segments, curves, and intersections, nationally, there's typically, whether if it's segment related on a rural road, if there's over X amount of accesses, that's a risk. If it's, there's no rumble strips existing, there's these check boxes that we looked at nationally as well as here in Wisconsin specific, where are there risk locations? And then as we collected data, we're then able to identify, okay, this one, does it have a history of crashes? Are there existing rumbles? What does the signage look like? What's the lane width to determine if it's within that risk threshold? And then those are how we've identified. So we call them star rankings. So each one that they fell into those risk thresholds, that's how they elevated to high priority or not.
The reason I think this is great. I agree with Pete. This is great. Before I moved into Chippewa Falls, I lived out on Highway K by where it crosses the freeway. And the site was horrible because you're coming from the south, fairly level, and the hump over the freeway. My driveway was just the other side, and many deer got hit out there while the 10 years I was out there, but also trying to get out of mine and my neighbor's driveway was a pain. And anyway, I think this is great that you're doing this type of analysis.
That was one of the pieces too of, we heard the hills were a challenge, and so bringing in that sightline specific risk factor for Chippewa specifically was one of the to show whether there was any sight issues as you're above a hill or coming up on one and vehicles.
Thank you.
Supervisor Hennick.
Did I hear you correctly that this is $1 billion project?
That's.
Is that in its entirety, or is it?
Nationally over
Over 5 years, there were $5 billion nationally that was distributed for safety funding.
No, for our projects that you just mentioned, what's the cost?
That was
For the plan?
22 million.
22 million.
Okay. How much of it is the county's responsibility, if any? And if it is the county's responsibility, how do you determine what we can afford? If we can't afford all of it, how do you choose what to afford?
Well, I mean, if we've got, you know, when we do our capital improvement plan, I mean, we're ranking projects by, you know, the most good we can do, what roads need improvement. You know, looking at the safety along with that, identifying what we can fix as we're going along anyways. And then, you know, if projects present themselves where we have a good chance of getting funding, I mean, we look at what can be afforded, and I mean, a lot of these 80-20 funding, you know, so 20% would be the local share. We do that a lot at the highway department with a lot of bridge and road projects, so it's just another tool to try and fit in with, you know, keeping everything looking good.
So the county's projected cost is 2.2 million?
Yeah, so, yeah, I would guess if you went out and did them all at once, maybe that's your cost, but, you know, we're looking at incorporating this as we go, you know, within budget.
Well, 80
We have to stay within.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Okay, if not, then we will call a vote to approve the resolution to adapt the safety action plan. Okay, it's unanimously approved. Thank you. Item 4, Resolution 9-26, resolution authorizing Chippewa County to enter into a lease agreement with Xcel Energy for operation of the boat landing on Lake Wissota, formerly known as the Rod and Gun Boat Landing, establishing a non-lapsing fund for future capital needs.
Resolution number 9-26, resolution authorizing Chippewa County to enter into a lease agreement with Xcel Energy for the operation of the boat landing on Lake Wissota, formerly known as the Rod and Gun Boat Landing, and establishing a non-lapsing fund for future capital needs. Now therefore be it resolved that the Chippewa County Board of Supervisors hereby approves Chippewa County entering into a lease agreement with Xcel Energy for the boat landing on Lake Wissota, formerly known as the Rod and Gun Boat Landing, with Chippewa County assuming responsibility for operation, maintenance, and management of the facility. And be it further resolved that the Chippewa County Board of Supervisors approves the lease agreement with Xcel Energy as presented and attached, authorizes Corporation Counsel to prepare any and all documents necessary to complete the transaction, and authorizes the county administrator to execute the lease agreement and take any and all actions necessary for its implementation. And be it further resolved that the Chippewa County Board of Supervisors approves and authorizes amending the policy for use of fund balance non-lapsing accounts to create a non-lapsing fund dedicated to the Xcel Energy Boat Landing, formerly known as the Rod and Gun Boat Landing, with a cap of $50,000 for the purpose of reserving excess revenues to support future capital improvements and major maintenance needs at the facility. Be it further resolved that that county staff are authorized to take all necessary actions to implement this resolution and assume operation of the Xcel Energy Boat Landing no later than May 1st, 2026, consistent with the approved lease and operational plan. Forwarded to the county board by the Facilities and Parks Committee.
Entertain a motion to approve.
Lots will approve.
Flynn seconds.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I can provide a little more information. I think a lot of the information is already in the statement of explanation and the accompanying memo and background information on the operational plan. But as summarized, Xcel approached us in the fall, indicating that they were no longer going to be in a relationship with the Rod and Gun Club, and they were looking for somebody to operate the landing on Lake Wissota. We looked at it, facilities, land conservation, forest management. and fits well with our existing recreational assets on the lake as well as throughout the county. It's a very popular, well-kept landing. It gets a lot of use. It has been a fee-supported landing, so the Rod and Gun was charging to launch from there. We would continue that. That's the only way we really can justify taking it on, and we anticipate the revenues will offset any expenses that we incur. In the information provided, you'll see we projected some expenses. Now, some of those are expenses we're already incurring. We're not anticipating any additional staffing or equipment, but there will be some hard costs like porta pots and a little bit of electricity and snow plowing that will be incurring, but the revenues will be in excess of that. It fits well on the lake. It's also adjacent to other properties that the county owns right across. Can you scroll down to the lease? Okay. And I'll just to get the aerial photos attached to the lease. It is a year-to-year lease, so if this doesn't work out, we can go back to Excel and let them know that. It's only a year commitment at a time. All the assets are already there. The docks are relatively new that are coming with the property. We'd be responsible to put them in or out. The buildings up in the top, the one pavilion that's silver roofed would stay. The other buildings are going to be torn down, so there's very little infrastructure to maintain. The area kind of to the bottom left of the property line is owned by the county. That's part of our Highway 178 recreation area. So it has some nice tie-ins there. And then actually the land at the very top, actually the very tip on the outside of the red line is owned by the county already because it ties in with the property across the bay. That's the Lewix Landing property that's owned by the county as well already. So I think long-term, there's some good opportunities for other things to happen, but in the short term, we're just looking to enter into the lease, operate it, support it with revenue, and continue to maintain it as a good asset for the county and for the residents of the community. Maybe any questions before I just ramble on?
Supervisor Bergeron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say that I fully support this plan of operation to take this over. The bottleneck that it would create at the other landings on Lake Wissota if this was not an operational boat landing, and the parking situations on a bunch of town roads it'd be a nightmare. So this point of access is absolutely needed. But I just wanted to repeat a statement that I made at the executive committee level that I fully understand why this needs to be a pay-for-use site, given the scope and the level of maintenance that it will require. It's quite the facility. I just want to be on record saying I do not support the concept of the pay-to-use trickling out to any other county-operated boat landings. We still need to maintain free access to our waterways to the residents. So, thank you.
Supervisor Kelly?
Thank you, Chair. Who's gonna enforce, I guess, the pay to use, right? Are we gonna staff it on Saturdays? Or?
Not at this time. Short term, we don't have a plan to do that. We're going to have digital payments. We can tie in the payments with our existing campground reservation system that does online payments. So people will be able to buy a season pass in advance or pay on site in a drop can or through cell. And then we'll do, just like we do at the campgrounds, periodic patrols to match up license plates. Now, that's a concern that was raised in one of the committee meetings. So we've done some work that, if it's not working out, we have options. I've talked to actually the town of Lafayette chairman earlier today. They use cameras at the Lafayette landing on Little Lake, and he said that's been good to maintain their revenues. And we actually also have a proposal from a company that does boat landing management for other municipalities, where it's beyond just a camera system. It's a camera system with license plate readers that we would put on the landings and enforce it that way. So would be no staff time. So we have options longer term if it's not working out, just by, I want to call it the honor system, but, unmanned enforcement.
Thank you.
Supervisor Gehrig?
So XL no longer wants to maintain this boat?
Not exactly. Excel owns the property and they have to maintain the property as part of their FERC license, having access. The Rod and Gun had leased this property from Excel for as long as the Rod and Gun's been operating it. So the Rod and Gun is no longer interested in leasing it and operating it. So Excel was looking for a new partner to take on that responsibility because they aren't in the business of operating the boat landings either.
Do we know what Xcel Energy uses this piece of property for? Do they have something else on there?
No,
Is this something the county may be interested in purchasing?
I don't believe so, and I don't believe Excel can sell it because usually with their FERC license, they have to maintain so much of that shoreline within their ownership and control. I should answer. Matt's in the back if he wants to take that on, but
Yeah, we never, so my name's Matt Miller, I'm with Excel Energy. I work in the hydro department, so we never, manage the property. It's like Andy said, it was always historically owned or operated by Chippewa Gun Club. It is considered a recreational facility approved by FERC, so we have to maintain that as a recreational facility, but we're not land managers per se, so, Chippewa County seemed like a good fit with, they manage their existing parks, they have law enforcement capabilities. So they were kind of the first on our list after Rod and Gun Club bowed out, so.
and I think noted in the write-up is that I think one of the reasons Excel approached us is because we have an existing relationship with them at Pine Point up in Lake Holcomb. Same situation where it's a recreational facility that they have to maintain, but the county's been leasing the property and running it as a campground for a number of years.
I guess just for some background, because it's under FERC jurisdiction, FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, we do have the ability to sell lands in the FERC project boundary that NSP owns or Excel Energy owns, but it's very difficult to do so. This is something that, in theory, we could consider. Typically, if you're looking to sell land in FERC project boundary, FERC likes to see it maintained or kept open to the public for recreation perpetuity. And we're doing that right now. So, but if Chippewa County really wanted this parcel, there's a process to go through that, which I would be, part of doing that. So it is possible to sell that land. It's just not something that we're looking to do right now, so.
Okay, thank you.
And just maybe to highlight too, the road, the access road coming in, it's actually the levee so because that came up when we talked about bringing utilities in or broadband, that we really can't bury anything because that's actually one of the levees that maintains the water within the impoundment.
Hey, any more questions? If not, then we will call the vote to approve resolution 9-26. Resolution is approved. Thank you. Item 5, ordinance 1-26. Ordinance to amend Chapter 14, Article 3 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances regarding large assemblies. Second reading. Entertain a motion to approve. Okay.
I'll second it.
You have a second? Who?
Just, I side this back here.
Any discussion on this then?
Question.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming now at point 4, the sheriff's department does have full range to adjust these fees accordingly, correct? Up or down, how they see fit? This is for the large assemblies, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So the changes are the same changes to the ordinance are the same as we talked about last month. So it changes the ratio of peace officers and security based on the persons on site, but it gives them the flexibility based on what's happening on site. So if it's 4 a.m, everybody's just in the campground, there's a ratio for that. And then during the day, as things happen in the scheduled assembly, like, there's a scheduled events and the people in there start to increase, the amount of law enforcement can increase. If there's nothing going on, then they don't need to have law enforcement present.
Correct.
So yeah, that's the primary change is, I guess, giving I think probably being more in line with what they've been doing already, with being able to adjust the number of law enforcement and security that are present on site. The other changes are, Section 8, Line 6, not acknowledging an appeal process, and then in item 25, that the approved and signed contract will be approved by the county board to address security and other county services that are provided to the assembly.
Thank you.
Any more questions, comments? Supervisor Hennick?
Thank you, sir. How do you determine the amount of attendees at the festival? Is there any reliable metric to do that?
We're typically going off of what the assembly operator is communicating with us, and then partially also based off of law enforcement's experience with the event. I mean, for the events we currently have, law enforcement's been involved for a number of years. If there's any disputes between that, we're really relying on our sheriff's department to work that out with the assembly operator.
So currently, is there a number at the height of the event, when everyone's up at the band listening to music, how many officers do you need per person to manage it?
So during the event, and the way this reads is that it's one peace officer and one security personnel. So that's security personnel that the event provides for every 800 people who are anticipated to be assembled on the grounds for scheduled events where alcoholic beverages are served. And so, trying to think of quick, if there's 16,000 people, you would need 20 officers.
Thank you, sir.
And then for non-alcoholic events, it's 1,600, one per 1,600 people.
Okay, any more questions or comments? Okay, I will call the vote then. Okay, ordinance passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 6, ordinance 2-26, ordinance to amend Chapter 62, Article 3, Division 2 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances regarding recycling. Second reading. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Bowman moves.
Carrying the seconds.
No, multiple. That'll work. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions on this? Or do you need any more explanation?
Second reading?
Yeah, it's the second reading. We went over it once the last meeting. Look at it. Any questions? Okay. Now then I will call the vote.
I broke it.
Jim locked everything up.
Jim Flater, it's all your fault.
Yeah.
Sitting there, George.
Vote early, vote often, right?
Oh.
Jim, I just don't press the button enough. It's like,
It's very excited to approve.
Okay, thank you. Okay, ordinance 2-26 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a tough one for you. Ordinance 3-26, ordinance to amend Section 80-1 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances regarding adoption of the Chippewa County Comprehensive Plan, second reading. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Later, second.
Okay, we have a second. So Doug wants to go through this in great detail.
Any questions? Just so you know, we did have we did have a couple of minor adjustments to the comp plan. I won't go over them in great detail, but one of them was in the future, maybe having a separate element that focused on health. The second revision dealt with some data within the plan for looking at federal poverty level versus ALICE, which is a United Way standard. The third one, I just blanked, sorry. The third change was just a minor change to natural resources. We actually called out in the goal that we want to try to protect the air as well. Chris Straight from Regional Planning, when he was going back through the plan, did find that one of the tables within the plan had wrong data in it, so he modified that as well. They are all represented within the final version that you have tonight in front of you. I appreciate all of the patience with this plan, and once again, West Central Wisconsin Regional Plan Commission really helped us out with this plan. And Chris Straight was the one that got to keep me in line and check here. So, Chris, thank you for helping me out as well as the committee and the focus groups that we had scheduled over the last year to run this thing through. So, any questions?
Supervisor Bergeron.
Thank you. As chair of the Planning and Zoning Committee, I just wanted to take a second to thank Doug and Chris Straight because of the level of work that this took to put together, and then for all the committee members for Planning and Zoning too, because on top of our regular monthly meetings that we have, we had to pull together 7 special meetings over a 6-month period, and those special meetings for comprehensive planning are not what you call quick meetings. So this was a heavy lift by everyone. That was Vice Chair Shoebridge and Supervisor Kelly, Supervisor Hall, and Supervisor Kempe. It was a lot of time spent in this room, so just thank you for the patience, and Doug and Chris, all the work that you put into it. That was a lot.
Supervisor Gary.
So I have a procedural question. Because there's been a change since the first reading, do we have to amend anything?
No.
Okay.
Good question. Thank you.
I would also like to thank Doug and Chris especially for the effort. And besides all the meetings we had, I don't know if you both held multiple meetings all over the county with various other stakeholders all around, and many meetings. A lot of information disseminated. So, thank you. If there are no further questions, I will call the vote to approve then. Okay, the ordinance is approved. Thank you. Item 8, ordinance 4-26. Ordinance to amend Chapter 3 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances regarding records retention. Second reading. A motion to approve.
Kelly makes a motion.
Shoebridge, second.
Okay, a motion is second.
Good, sir.
We're waiting for lots of questions on this. This is in-depth, interesting things.
Most exciting.
Do we have any questions on the records retention? Okay, if not, then when we get the screen up, we will call a vote. Okay, ordinance 4-26 is unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, it's a long time. Okay, we'll move on to item 10, County Administrator Appointments. County Administrator Appointment of County Traffic Safety Commission, Brian Tonacor.
Brian Tanancor is the new fire chief for the city of Chippewa Falls. He replaces Jason Tome, who was our representative and was the retired, now retired fire chief.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second to approve. Any discussion? Okay, again, when the screen comes up, we will call the vote. Okay, ordinance, the appointment is approved unanimously. This item for future consideration, I guess, is kind of a moot point, because this is the end of, this is the end of our term. So, and I just, again, thank everyone for their 2 years of service here, and look forward to seeing most of you all in next month. So move on to item 12.
Erickson will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor indicate by saying aye.